This week, we're making our blackout blinds and doing everything we possibly can to avoid having to sew them. So stay tuned to see if we manage it. We've been trying to figure out what to do about window coverings in the van, and we've had a look at some of the options. You can buy blinds that go across, you can kind of do little small magnets in each of the corners and stick them on with your blinds, but all of those for us have the issue of they're not going to be fully blackout. You're always going to get a little gap of light around the outside, and we really wanted like full blackout blinds. So the solution we've come up with is maybe a little bit experimental, but it's using this magnetic tape stuff. So it's a two-part magnetic tape, and the idea is one will go on the wood of our window frames and create a little border, and then the other part will go onto the back of our blind fabric, and in theory they should just snap together and create a completely seamless blackout blind. And then when we want to take them off, it will just be a case of peeling them off and storing the blind. So we're gonna try that. First thing we're going to need to do is measure along one of the sides of the frame to know how long to cut the tape to. And because this stuff has a self-adhesive strip on the back, it is as simple as simply peeling that off and sticking it to the wood. And now to stick the very first piece onto the wood. With that done, we can move on to some of the other pieces. This was actually pretty easy to do, but there are a lot of edges to get round, so it does take a little while. Now that we've got the magnetic tape all the way round on the window frames, the next step is going to be to get the other half onto the back of our blind fabric. Now, we did originally think we were going to just measure out the window frame and kind of draw on the blind, cut it out, stick the tape on, but we think we've got an easier way. And that is going to be to take the other half of the magnetic tape and stick it straight on to the window frame all the way around, and then peel back the sticky layer on the back and simply stick the blind all the way around the window, and then just very carefully peel it off together and trim up the blind around the tape, and that should be easier if it works. We've left the adhesive backing covered for now so that the tape is a little bit easier to work with, and just in case any fibres or anything get on it, that would mean it loses its stick. With window 1 done, it's time to move on to window number 2. This is the fabric we're going to be using for our blinds. It is actually really blackout, which is great. So what we need to do now is just cut it down to size. Now that our tape is up on the window frame, we've stuck the second half of the tape on top, and what we'll be doing next is sticking our blind material to that and then peeling it all off as one. Now that we've got the tape stuck onto the back of our blind material, we need to trim it down to size, so we're just going to cut along the edges, and then with a bit of fabric glue we'll fold it over and stick it into place. We have some leftover of this Reflectix that we put on our walls originally, so we're thinking we're going to add it into the middle of our blinds as just an extra layer of insulation. Our edges are definitely not the neatest or the most even, and fabric glue is probably not the ideal solution, but neither of us are pretty good at sewing, so it was good enough for us. Having said that, I'm sure you could get a much neater finish on the back if you knew what you were doing with a sewing machine. Now we just need to repeat that process for all of our other windows.
For this corner, we're going to do very similar to how we did it when we're actually building this outer frame. So we're going to hold that lined up along the top, and then we're just going to cut along this angle here just so it lines up.
We managed to match that angle pretty well, and we are very happy about that, which means we can now just carry on as we were before.
So we line it up, and hopefully that will just snap on. Snaptastic.
And here are all the completed blinds, which means the only thing left to do is to check just how blackout they actually are. We've got the back door blinds all done. One is already on the window, and then to give it a test, we've got the lights on in here, and it is very dark outside. So we're going to throw this one on there as well, and then see if any light leaks out. That looks like it's working pretty well.